upon Luke Taylor, the Liberal Democrat spokesperson, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr Dowd, and I thank the Honourable Member for Derby South for calling this very important debate. You cannot truly be free to live your life if you are living in fear of crime. Across London and in boroughs like mine in Sutton, that freedom begins and ends with residents feeling safe to use their own town centres and their high streets. It's where people come together, it's where they shop. In this day and age, it's one of the last truly public spaces left. But when our constituents can't see police on their high streets, they don't feel protected and are left feeling powerless. Their sense of security slips and it changes how people live their daily lives. High street footfall drops, shops close earlier, parents worry, and women are forced to plan their routes home with keys clenched in their fists. Londoners should be able to feel safe in their everyday routines without their safety being threatened by an illegal e-bike tearing across the pavement, without the fear of their phone being snatched from their hand, or even just being forced to put up with antisocial, disrespectful behaviour. Now, let me be clear. No matter what certain right-wing politicians say, unfortunately they're absent, London is largely a safe city. Serious crime figures in the capital are falling, and this must be celebrated. Murder rates are at their lowest level in London since 2014, and violent crime in the city was down by 12% compared to 2024, but up by around 30% in 10 years. Improving figures for the most serious crime contrast with an increase in more visible crimes like shoplifting, up 19% in London this year. The same is tragically true on sexual assaults, up by more than 10,000 in a decade, from 16,100 in 2016 to 26,800 in 2025. All crime reporting in London is up from 87.1 per thousand in 2016 to 106.4 in 2025, all under Mayor Khan's watch and under government funding deals decided by Conservative ministers. These are sobering reminders that the crimes that make life miserable, or even in the case of sexual assault, terrifying, are up despite the positive headlines. And the lived experience of my constituents tells a far more uncomfortable story than the picture the Mayor and the government want to paint. In particular, it is particularly heartbreaking that women and girls who've faced too often underreported violence on our streets for decades and who've hoped that as society finally begins to shine the spotlight on gendered violence, visible and proactive policing would finally rise to meet the challenge. Instead, they're having to bear witness to the erosion of that kind of policing instead. Between 2015 and 2025, the number of Metropolitan Police officers has stayed almost static at around 32,000 full-time equivalents. As our city has become more complex, new crimes and new dangers have developed, and our population has grown by more than 500,000 people, the Metropolitan Police has not. Indeed, just last year, under Sadiq Khan's leadership and a Labour government, the Metropolitan Police lost more than 1,400 officers and staff, a cut of over 4%. I expect the Minister will talk about decisions made by some of my predecessors up to 16 years ago as a reason for Labour failure to properly fund the Met this year, but the responsibility sits squarely on Labour government and Labour Mayor's shoulders. For Londoners, those cuts are a kick in the teeth. Police officers should not feel like some sort of novelty. You should be able to spot one on the street and not think it's unusual.
Will they give way on this point?
Absolutely.
Does he not agree that if we're serious about making London safer, and we all want to be safer, we all spend a lot of time here, that supporting the use of facial recognition to identify known criminals would make a difference? But his party opposes that.
I genuinely thank him for his contribution. He must have read my next paragraph. CCTV cameras and facial recognition tech watching and monitoring us going about our business cannot replace a friendly face with a welcoming smile and advice on getting assistance for a lost phone or mislaid keys. I fear that as funding for the Metropolitan Police continues to be stretched thinner and thinner, this reassurance will begin to all but disappear. Having walked the streets of Sutton with my local police unit, I've seen first-hand the strain caused by falling officer numbers. My High Street team cut from 11 to 4. They're doing extraordinary work, but they're being asked to cover more ground and respond to more incidents with fewer colleagues by their side. Sometimes I fear there's a dangerous strain of make-believe in this debate, the belief that police capacity can grow without the financial backing to support it. No one has been clearer about this than the Metropolitan Police Commander, Sir Mark Rowley. Last year, he warned of severe consequences as the Met faced a £260 million funding gap. Even after emergency support reduced a much larger deficit, the pressures have not gone away, and policing capability in the capital continues to be eroded as we speak. Within the Met, specialist teams such as the Flying Squad, firearms teams, the Royals Park Police are all set to be cut. And all that's to say nothing of the school liaison officers, who do some of the most important work in restoring and embedding trust in the police in the next generation, as well as stopping the dangerous spread of youth violence at its root. These are units that form the backbone of serious crime prevention in our capital. But in recent weeks, we've been told that structural reforms will save the day. Proposals for mergers to create mega forces, which apparently will do more for less. Police reform without proper funding isn't fixing the problem, it's at best delaying it, and at worst, putting greater pressure on the cracks that are already showing. These changes set out by the Police Reform White Paper must be done right. So I want to press the Minister for clarity on what these reforms will mean, particularly for the Metropolitan Police. At a time when visible policing is so hard to achieve, you'd expect priority to be given to those last vestiges of accessible law enforcement, police front counters. But no, having already lost police officers and stations, and with a £260 million shortfall to plug, Londoners are now being asked to stomach the closure of counters across the city, leaving most of London a police-access desert. These 12 complete closures and the loss of 24-hour counters in 25 other locations touch every part of London. A 24/7 counter in every borough gone. Another broken promise from Mayor Khan. When those counters close, people lose the sense that police officers are present and accessible in their community. We can all see that. We can all agree on that. So it beggars belief that just last week, both Labour and Green Assembly members voted against Lib Dem proposals for a funded moratorium on these closures. How can they expect Londoners to put their trust in them if they won't back us on this most basic of campaigns? The Liberal Democrats across London are calling not just for this to be stopped, but also for more properly funded police front desks in every community, based in local hubs such as libraries, shopping centres and town halls. This would allow people to report crimes and share information with the police face-to-face in convenient locations. So, to conclude, I simply ask the Minister this. When can our police forces expect to see the investment they deserve? What assessment are they making on an ongoing basis of the impact of below-inflation funding increases on the viability of community policing? And why, when they claim to want to restore community policing, will they not intervene when their own party's mayor is driving policing in the opposite direction in the capital? Thank you.
Thank you.